So when the Dragon Ball Z anime concluded, we got two different sequels, GT, which released straight after Z, and then Super, signifying the franchise's return after decades. Us fans have fought over which one's better, to the point, if you like one series, the fans of the other will raid your house to call you delusional. However, I'm gonna unite both Super and GT fans with my take. Dragon Ball GT is a better sequel to Super than to Dragon Ball Z. Now don't roast me yet, let me land. This vid's gonna support my take by focusing on character progression and overall narrative. We'll begin of course by discussing my glorious Prince Vegeta. Although I prefer Super, I really like how GT handles his character. Unlike Z, Vegeta has mostly given up his obsession of beating Goku and has now fully embraced the Earth as his home. Two quotes beautifully summarize this.
Saiyan blood still courses through my veins, and I call the Earth my home! I've already had to deal with one home planet being destroyed. No, now it looks like the Earth will be next to go.
These quotes hit hard. However, my issue with GT Vegeta is he feels way too different from his Buu Saga self. GT shows the full character completion, while Z only has half an arc where he's a good guy. I just feel the transition between Z and GT's interpretations are too drastic, and that's cause there weren't any breaks between these shows. The week after Z ended, GT's first episode aired, likely cause they didn't want to lose any of Z's traction and the potential truck ton of money up for grabs. I know there's a 15-year gap between Kid Buu's defeat and the start of GT, but I want to see that transitional phase between him beginning to appreciate the Earth to him completely accepting it. Episodically, GT isn't that far away from Majin Vegeta's midlife crisis, where he wanted to beat Goku and hated how Earth made him soft. This is where Super bridges the gap, and honestly, it fits like a glove. In my opinion, if you watch Z, then Super, and finally GT in that order, you'll find Vegeta's development to be way more satisfying. Regarding the growth of his human side, Manga Vegeta specifically does many things closely akin to his GT self. When future Trunks reaches the past, he's overall deflated about failing to save his mum and Mai, so Vegeta cheers him up by choosing to play Mario Kart with the rest of the Z fighters. You could play this scene off as filler, but it emphasises how dialed in Vegeta is with his humanity, actually gaming with his family and friends. There's also where Vegeta tells his son to meet him in the gravity room, and they're properly training as a duo, almost like his way of atoning for ignoring Trunks in the Cell Saga. Some of you may counter my point by referencing Vegeta's promise to take Kid Trunks to the theme park, but if you watch 90s Dragon Ball, we never see this promise being fulfilled. Super's the show that resolves this in its first couple episodes, expanding on Vegeta's closeness to his family from the foundations of the Buu Saga. I could even mention this scene at the start of the Mora arc, when Goku teleports to Capsule Corp. Vegeta's considerate enough to his neighbours to train it in the gravity room so they don't cause a ruckus. Here the prince has actual human decency, resembling the mannerisms of his later self. These slice of life scenes seem small in isolation, but they tie together Vegeta's humanity at this stage of his life, progressing further than Z, but leaving a room for the eventual completion in GT. The next aspect is Vegeta's relationship with Bulla. She's briefly shown during the end of Z, and in GT, Bulla's a preteen who the prince treats like royalty. He willingly took her shopping for the day, and her harsh opinions on that moustache forced Vegeta to instantly shave it off. From these scenes alone though, the question in my head was, why does he have such a fondness for Bulla? 90s Dragon Ball doesn't show her birth or early upbringing, but you know what does? Dragon Ball Super. Vegeta kept asserting he won't join the Tournament of Power to witness the birth of his daughter, and it loops back to that growing humanity which was lacking in the Cell Saga, who'd rather train in space than be there for Trunks' birth. Although he doesn't show it, Vegeta's ecstatic to have Bulla, implied by how in the anime he had Saiyan names at the ready to call his daughter. If Bulma didn't intervene, I do wonder what kind of names he thought of. There's also when Vegeta kept turning blue every time Bulla cried, so we had to teach the gang basic cradling skills. And finally, we can't forget when Vegeta changed Bulla's nappies as if it was second nature. That means the prince prepped his baby carrying skills well before Bulma was expecting. Super provided the much needed legwork as to why the prince puts Bulla on a pedestal, a relationship that was barely developed in Z. Last for Vegeta, Let's discuss fusion. In the Shadow Dragons arc, Vegeta believes 2 Super Saiyan 4s aren't enough to beat Omega, where he of all people suggests fusion, causing the arrival of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Pride doesn't blind him when the stakes are at the highest, juxtaposing his immature Buu Saga self, where Goku continuously ranted at him to fuse. My only problem is this attitude difference is way too vast, pretty much opposing ends of the spectrum. Personally, there should be some connective tissue to present his development as gradual rather than out of nowhere. Said connective tissue is done sublimely in Super's manga with the return of Vegito. When Goku asks to put on the earrings, the prince refuses, affirming he'll never fuse again. Goku accepts his decision where they take turns to fight Zamasu separately, but what changes Vegeta's mind is his conversation with Trunks. Ever since Z, future Bulma wouldn't stop asking about Vegeta upon hearing he got mad about his son's death to Cell. And if it wasn't for Black, Bulma would have returned to the past, just so she could see her husband again. This news hits Vegeta in the feels, and in that moment he swallows his pride for Trunks' sake, choosing to combine with Goku using the Potara. The love for his son is the driving force for Vegeto's return, while not needing Goku's nagging to do so. Do you see the progression of fusion? Vegeta goes from almost refusing it if not for summoning, to accepting it willingly in the manga out of love for his family, to then actually encouraging it instead of Goku and GT. This is symbolic of the different stages in Vegeta's life, and how the longer he spends on Earth, the more human he becomes. No one talks about his developmental stance on fusion, where it flows much better if you place Super before GT. This isn't a Vegeta vid, so let's discuss another character, Goku. Before that, I want to thank you all for reaching 30k subscribers. In a football context, more people are subbed to this channel than both the capacities of Bournemouth's and Brentford's stadiums combined. That's crazy to think about. So now, I'd appreciate if you subbed to reach the next milestone, 35k. Anywho, the aspect of Goku we'll cover is his carefree nature. Throughout GT, Goku has this chill attitude whenever he's around his family and friends, or if he knows he's got the situation under control. On the other hand, Z Goku never gets time to relax, as there's always a threat looming around the corner. A lot of Z has Goku absent, mostly so he could train to get strong enough, and the only time I can remember of him truly chilling is during the 9-day wait for the Cell Games following the Turtle Hermit Way. Super leaves blueprints for why the older GT Goku acts so carefree, and it's due to more slice of life scenes and longer lasting peace. Super Goku is able to spend time with his family without the worry of a villain wreaking havoc, evident by how he bonds a lot with Goten, something that was an impossibility in the Buu Saga. You know Goten meant the world to Goku, when Black's reveal of killing his alternate family had our hero crashing out with white hot rage. I feel his relationship with Goten rolls over to his one with GT Pan, where Goku's again chill, spending lots of time with her. If you want a moment that parallels the Black Rage scene, look no further than Ice Shenron using her as a shield against the Kamehameha. Like with Super, Goku locks in, vowing to end Ice if he dares cause harm to his granddaughter, and it's beautiful that our hero won't tolerate villains cowardly bringing family into the mix. Both series effectively convey Goku's duality during times of peace and when family is in peril. Sadly, his Z version doesn't have a lock-in moment when they're on the line. The other thing we should mention is Goku's mercy. DBS adds more villains to tackle this matter, where in the manga Goku Black arc, our hero doesn't take any chances with the god, ordering Vegeta to finish him off once Trunks raises concern of Black's growing power. Goku never fights Black in the manga, and that haste to end him contrasts the Buu Saga, where our hero didn't destroy Buu as a Super Saiyan 3 just so the next generation could have their go. This is some huge risk taking that older manga Goku refused to repeat, but I know someone will counter this by using the Moro situation. On the surface, it looks really bad on Goku. He initially spares Moro, even giving a sensu bean so the tyrant could return to the galactic prison. This was also a great risk, almost costing the galaxy once Moro fused with Earth. However, from Goku's POV, just minutes ago he saw his temporary mental mirrors get permanently erased, and in a flashback, the angel notes how both Goku and the Galactic Patrol lean towards reforming villains rather than killing them, with Meris also adopting the stance during his time there. Goku's trying to carry out his dead mentor's will by using the mercy tactic one last time, though the minute Moro says he'll continue to spread pain across the galaxy, Goku knows mercy won't work here, fully on board with destroying him to restore peace as Meris' top priority, all refusing with Earth stuff weren't events our hero could have foreseen. And by the end of the arc, Goku truly knows the potential consequences of being merciful to scum. If you see DBS as the prequel, you could argue Goku learned his lesson from Moro and applied them to Baby. Once the parasite leaves Vegeta's body, an even older Goku rejects the mercy card here, exterminating Baby with a Kamehameha to the sun. His GT self wasn't going to leave room for harm to the Earth, unlike his actions in the Moro arc, even if it meant abandoning his mercy. Basically, if you place Super before GT, Goku's character is much more complete, from the roots of his carefree nature to his conclusion on mercy. The next GT character who receives more depth is Oob. As the reincarnation of Kid Buu, Oob has immense potential for an Earthling, which is why Goku had great interest in him at the end of the Z tournament. This leads to our hero training him over the 5-year time skip, and in GT, he's meant to be the next successor, especially upon fusing with Fat Buu to become Marjube. Keyword meant to be. However, End of Z never delves into what's so special about being a reincarnation, or what Oob's really capable of, other than some dormant power Goku sensed. How the DBS manga succeeds is by doing the legwork into expanding on Oob and why he's so important. Before recruiting 17 for the TOP, Dende tells Goku about Oob's latent potential and how this prodigy lives in a village unaware of how powerful he is. Goku's asked to train him when he's older, name dropped by Dende, who reveals Oob's true nature from King Yemma cleansing the boy's soul at our hero's request. I really like Oob's setup here. Goku joining the End of Z tournament feels a lot more planned, as he already knows his name, rather than basing it off a hunch with Oob being Buu backwards. The promise to Dende being eventually fulfilled makes the payoff all the more sweeter. What the DBS manga also conveys is how broken Oob's potential is, by making him a key factor in Moro's defeat. When the goat fuses with Earth, he drains Goku's ki, reverting him from UI to base form. Vegeta's Fourth Spirit Fission funnels every Z fighter's energy into Goku, but only enough to boost him up to Super Saiyan Blue. As all hope is lost, a big ball of divine energy enters the fray, and guess who this energy belonged to? None other than Oob. The Grand Supreme Kai went to the village for his aid, while both Jaco and Dende celebrate on the lookout as Oob inherited the same Kai's power from being Kid Buu's reincarnation. Oob's power alone revved Blue Goku back up to UI, and is literally the reason Dragon Ball has its very own Susanoo. The fact he indirectly soloed Moro makes his training way more significant, providing the needed context for GT as to why Goku saw him as this great successor and the next protector of Earth. Super masterfully set up 3 characters for their completion in GT, so let's now discuss a narrative which holds more weight if you watch modern Dragon Ball, the Shadow Dragons. Conceptually, the Dragon Balls as the final antagonist is genius to say the least. Whoever thought of that deserves a raise. The constant overuse of the orbs led to a negative energy buildup and the birth of Black Smoke Shenron. Instead of granting their wish, he split off into 7 different Shadow Dragons, who if not beaten will destroy the whole universe. I know the Dragon Balls shouldn't be abused, but looking at the birth of each Shadow Dragon, most wishes are selfless. 4 of the 7 dragons were from resurrecting the innocent who died to different villains. 2 dragons seem more selfish at first, like the Underwear wish. However, Oolong was in the right, because it was either the underwear or Pilaf conquering the world. Technically, there were good intentions behind that wish, because Pilaf could have made things so much worse. The only truly selfish wish was King Piccolo restoring his youth, but ironically, it gave life to Nova Shenron, the most noble of the 7. This whole arc's guilt-tripping the Z fighters. Yes, they used the orbs too much, but most wishes were done with good intentions. None of the deities enforced rules on using them sparingly. Plus, are the gang meant to let everyone stay dead? The Shadow Dragons are such a lose-lose situation. The Z fighters either let the Earth die, or let the Earth die. What are they meant to do? Super fixes this issue by granting wishes which are both unnecessary for the universe's well-being and inherently selfish, benefiting only one or a group of people. These types of wishes would increasingly justify the Dragon Balls turning on them and make the problem feel avoidable if it weren't for the Z fighters. In the Super anime, there's an episode where everyone's selfishly queuing up to wish from Shenron. Roshi wants a harem to himself, 18 wants to know what Krillin likes for a gift, and Bulma wants a mineral to build a time machine. And yes, it's selfish, cause this scene happens after the Goku Black arc. The only selfless wish here was Goku's to resurrect King Kai, Bubbles and Gregory. The first one ends up being granted to Gohan, who, no joke, wishes for Pan to recover from a fever. He could have gone to an actual doctor, but no, he used a sacred dragon to treat something so trivial. Bulma's right there, she can pay for any treatment imaginable. As for the other wish, about that, the Z fighters bickered for so long that Shenron's time expired, unable to grant the second one. This should cause an even bigger negative energy build-up. And yep, that means King Kai is still dead to this day. DBS Broly could have added to the selfishness if it weren't for Chi-Lai. Frieza wanted to grow 5 inches, and Bulma's plan was to look 5 years younger. Speaking of Bulma, we must address DBS Superhero. After Piccolo receives a potential unlock, which you could argue is selfish in of itself, there's wishes left which could have been used to bring the Saiyans to Earth to fight the Gammas. Instead, Bulma takes the wishes for herself, and what does she ask?
I was thinking maybe we could perk up my buns to around a college age.
Yep, that's what Shenron's been reduced to, granting BBLs. Even worse, she consumes 2 wishes, where the other one grew her eyelashes by 2mm. And with how the dialogue's worded, this isn't Bulma's first rodeo, gathering the orbs repeatedly for mere cosmetics. This is so avoidable, she can afford all the surgeries in the world 10 times over. If you watch Super before GT, then it makes so much sense why the Shadow Dragons exist. Honestly, the Z fighters truly deserve it if we account for Super. Like, imagine if Sin Shenron was instead born from Bulma's wish for a BBL. Overall, GT is a more fitting sequel to Super than to Z due to our heroes progressing more naturally. Super knows it's the connective tissue between Z and GT, so rather than character arcs going from A to C, it's more like A-B-C if you watch the shows in that order. Super also sets up concepts for a bigger payoff later, such as Oob's broken potential and the Shadow Dragons, which aren't as satisfying if you jump straight from Z. Let me know if my takes complete a waffle or not, and lastly, thanks so much for watching the vid.